5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you very much, President Karen, and special thanks to you and to past President Gary Shera and President-elect Fernando Zazueta, who have been strong supporters of the Rotary Climate Action Committee in San Jose and beyond. And special thanks to District Governor Ramesh Hariharan and District Governor-elect Greg Giussiana for their continued support for the RCAC activities in District 5170 as it expands. And ultimately, very much appreciation to Yavuz Attila, who is the chair of the Northwest Region for Rotary International, or the Regional Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, SRAG, which the Rotary Climate Action Committee in San Jose is now a local outreach group for. And we look forward to integrating RCAC into SRAG over the next couple of years. Now let's please feel free to record this presentation as you might want to use it for your own efforts as you go into the community. Note that the different blocks can be changed to fit your own credits and your name and whatever group you want to communicate with, so that it's completely adaptable for you to take over that responsibility. Let's begin by next slide. Noting that there have been 5 extinctions in the history of the Earth, and according to scientists, we're bumping up against the next 6th extinction now, which would be the end of mammals on Earth, unless we can get the global climate change condition under control very quickly. Next. Climate change is happening. It's happening and it's caused by humans. Some of the impacts are irreversible already, and the actions we're taking today can limit future warming if we take them aggressively enough and are determined. And thank you very much to NASA for this nice photo of the sun coming up over the moon. Next. Science, 99.9% of the published scientists in the world now agree that we are having a climate crisis, that 11,000 of them have signed a petition saying we need to declare a climate state of emergency and begin acting in that way in order to avoid the cataclysm of the end of life on Earth for mammals. Next. Climate change occurs when the greenhouse gas effect occurs, and that happens when the sun's energy comes to the Earth, bounces off, and is captured by the rapidly increasing CO2 blanket around the Earth, and then bounces back to the Earth. It should be bouncing back out into space, most of it, but a major portion is now bouncing back to the Earth, and it's cooking our planet. Next. That's a quote that you can use and feel comfortable. Next. This is most important. CO2 is what's causing climate change, and CO2 is being captured in greater amounts in the atmosphere. These are ice corings for the last 800,000 years from the Antarctica. They're agreed to in the analysis by China, Russia, the European community, and the United States. And it indicates, as you can see there, that the CO2 in the atmosphere is now twice as high as the highest point in the last 800,000 years, and 4 times the average of the last 800,000 years. We're in trouble, and it's getting hotter fast. Next. CO2 in the atmosphere causes heat because it captures the heat, remember the diagram, and that has been magnified and accelerated in the last part of the last 100 years and the early part of the 21st century, as we've used automobiles and petroleum powered and coal powered energy sources more and more rapidly and intensively. The last 5 years are the hottest 5 years in the history of the world. Next. This tells us where the heat is, where the CO2 is coming from. This is a study done by the finest scientists in the world, many Nobel laureates from the research organizations in the United States and in California. And it indicates that in California, 38% of the CO2 and other effluent is coming from transportation. Industry, 20%. We can't get to industry because it has to be controlled by government. And our national government isn't doing a very good job at that right now. Electric generation and electric imports are 23%. That we can get to. Agriculture, residential, commercial, we can't really do too much there. And to do much doesn't accomplish much. So let's focus, as the Rotary Climate Action Committee has in San Jose, on those things that will give us a bang for the buck. And that's transportation, energy generation, and imports. That's 62%, 61%, over 60% of the carbon dioxide that is being created in California is coming from transportation and electric generation. Next. Here's the transportation crisis. Cars are the biggest problem. We know that. When we light off 28 million cars in California and go to work, and we do the same thing to come home, that's where the problem is. 28 million cars commuting 5 to 150, 200 miles per direction twice a day is causing the major problem. Airlines are not good, especially short hop airlines. Buses, diesel buses and trucks are terrible. Fortunately, in Santa Clara County, VTA is under Nuria Fernandez is reducing that by just changing our fleet over to electrically powered and hybrid buses. But the solution is steel wheel on rail, electrically powered transportation, high-speed rail, light rail, commuter rail, BART, metro rail, and then of course driving electric cars and using bicycles and walking. Of course, walking is good for your heart too. Next. What's happening? Food production is being disrupted. I just read an article in yesterday's New York Times saying that the middle of the earth, even if we do everything we can do right now, the middle of the earth, the area around the equator is going to become a desert all the way around instead of just over at the Sierra. And that's why we're seeing mass migrations, because people can't earn a living there anymore. And they're beginning to migrate in areas to the north and south that still have some water. We won't have water for a long time unless we can fix this, but still North America has the water. Water will become the most valuable commodity in the world, much more valuable than oil. We're seeing epidemics, water shortages, more and more desertification, as I just mentioned, radically inclement weather causing wildfires, floods, and drought. And then, of course, the polar ice caps are melting, and that's projected to increase the height of the oceans from 100 to 200 feet. And of course, that puts most of downtown San Jose underwater. So that's a serious, serious threat. Let's get to it. Next. This research was reported by the Secretary General of the United Nations when he opened the session recently, and he noted that we have less than 12 years to reverse the climate change crisis, or the time for mammals on Earth will have ended. So that's pretty serious. Time magazine reported it October 27th, double peer reviewed. Next. This is it by the diagram. The red line, if we don't do anything, is the end of humankind, the end of mammals on Earth. As it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and we lose viability of mammals. Cockroaches will love the heat, but humankind will die. If we can take action immediately, fight back immediately, and do the environmental things that are necessary, we can keep that blue line. And the blue line isn't as comfortable as we have been in the past, but it's livable. Next. Hal Harvey's a good old friend. He's done a lot of research, He points the way in the following message. Next. Transform the power grid. Convert our power grid away from carbon-based petroleum and coal and so on, and convert it to sustainably generated electricity, solar, wind, geothermal, and so on as quickly as we possibly can. It has to occur very, very rapidly in order not to exceed the 12 years that we have to turn over a planet to our children, who will do a lot better job than we have in protecting it. Next, please. These are the solutions for transportation: high-speed rail, metro rail, light rail, electric buses and cars, and scooters and bicycles, and walking. Next. In our homes, we can do backyard and home solar, battery storage walls. You can purchase only sustainably generated electricity from your community aggregators, home insulation, and the elimination of any natural gas fireplaces or wood burning. You can get this information from the Air Quality Management District or Metropolitan Transportation Commission. Next, please. Let me use this opportunity now to shift leadership of the Rotary Climate Action Committee for San Jose Rotary to the new chair. The chair for the coming year, beginning in July, will be Deanna Persai. She's been a wonderful technician and administrator and tactician, and in many ways the leader of the morning process with Rotary Climate Action effort in San Jose. And Deanna is here to tell you about what we need to do in the future in order to survive and for our children to have a happy life. Welcome, please, Deanna Persai.
Thank you, Past President Rod. Yes, it's time that we all need to become climate change ambassadors. What does that mean? We can start talking to our friends, our family, and neighbors. We can insert climate change concerns into our daily conversations. One of the tools that our Climate Action Committee has created this year is a Rotary button. It's called Show Your Stripes, and from the blue to red shows the temperature rise here in California since 1900 to 2020. So it's a conversation starter that I plan to wear every day. Volunteer to speak, to use this PowerPoint and speak at your favorite community groups or workplaces. We're in the process of getting this PowerPoint converted into Spanish. Past President Rod has been given it all over the community, and there is a growing cohort of leaders within our committee who are learning how to give the PowerPoint, and we want to get the message out really succinctly because we are racing the clock now to save humanity. We can buy and lease electric cars, and then we can install solar at home or at work. Another product that we've done this last year is create a survey so that we can see how we're doing as our club as far as driving electric cars and using solar. And we'd like to share this survey with any other district that might also want to gather data and get the message out that it's really time to care. And by far and certainly we need to pray to have a future for our children. I'm not a scientist, but there's two things in this world I love more than anything else. One is most certainly my children, and number two is Rotary. I'm really humbled by all the amazing leaders and doers and civic forward-minded thinkers in Rotary, and we have an international network. And so I plan to work very aggressively with Past President Rod, who's going to take over being the leader at the district level. I'm excited to work with Yavuz Attila at the national and international level with Rotary International, with the SRAG committee. It's time to get the message out. How Harvey says that this is just one big math problem, and we are on the right side of making changes if we all work together very quickly. But we need as many people as possible so that we can turn the tide for the future of our children and our grandchildren. Back to you, Rod.
Thank you very much, Deanna. And thank you for your great support and leadership during the last 2.5 years of founding of this process. And I'll look forward to working with you and Yavuz during the coming year. These numbers and contact information can be used by the folks reading the material, and keep this and give a call to the Air Quality Management District and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission if you need additional information, brochures, or guidance. Let me end this now by saying that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, our beautiful children are going to come to us and they're going to say, Mama, Papa, did you do all you could do when you could still save the world for the next generation of youngsters? I and the members of the Rotary Climate Action Committee in the San Jose Rotary Club are going to say yes. What will you say?